What's up, GBA fans? RhyQuinn here, and today I'm going to be bringing you the Season 4 Week 1 recap video, but I am not alone. As always, I will be joined by Adam from TNA TV.
Hello, hello. We're bringing this to you guys, and I'm sure you're already noticing that we are not bringing it the same format as last season. We apologize for that. There is a reason. There's a method for the madness. RhyQuinn and I have a little bit more experience in the actual format, so we kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit more of our opinion with the facts. So that's why we're not doing it the same type of format. I know you guys loved it, but unfortunately, we're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, I think we all loved it, but we're different. We're not Gio and Tony, so hey, whatever. I'm also going to do an apology real quick. I apologize for my audio quality right now. My headset broke like a few days ago, and I've ordered a new one. It's coming. It's on its way, but in the meantime, probably this week and maybe next week, maybe even the week after, I don't know. Depends how long it takes to get here. I'm going to be using the mic on my webcam, which kind of really sucks. But yeah, so sorry for that, but I couldn't really help it.
We're actually just going to bring you however long of just apologizing. This actually really isn't a recap. We're just going to apologize for everything.
Yeah,
And then we're just
exactly. Yeah, this is just the apology video. I don't know what you guys were actually expecting, but this is just an apology video. Right then, so enough with the apologies. We are going to get right on with the matches. And the first match we're going to talk about from Week 1 in GBA Season 4 is the Milwaukee Swordsbucks and Magnitude against the Cincinnati Loudreds and Malvo 19. And the Cincinnati Loudreds picking up a 2-0 victory over the Swordsbucks. It was a pretty interesting match. There were a few really cool plays on both sides. Like Magnitude's Yachi Berry Landorus Therian. That was cool.
yeah,
I loved that. That was impressive. I really enjoyed that, to be able to take the what was it? The HP Ice, was it?
yeah, from Manectric, Mega
That's the one.
Manectric.
Yeah, that's the one from Mega Man X. That's right. Yeah, that was really cool. That was the highlight for me for sure.
I
Um,
was uh, I was honestly surprised that Steve lost this because
mm,
honestly he came in and the way that he was talking about his sets, it seems like he was very well prepared for this.
yeah, I think he was. I think the thing that probably lost him the match was he underestimated Fortress. Um,
Yes.
and he kind of discounted it as a threat a little bit, and it came to bite him in the ass towards the end, as it just kind of swept up with Gyroball. He didn't really have much to take it out, as he did sack off his Arcanine and his Electros fairly early on in the match, which are the only fire offensive moves that he has were an Arcanine and Electros, so he didn't really have a way to deal with it.
Yeah, losing Arcanine early in the match really bit him. Not only for obviously Fortress, but also for that Weevil. It really, those were two threats that I don't know if he was quite overly prepared for. That just kind of came to bite him.
Exactly, yeah. But not taking anything away from Malvo, he did play very well, some very solid plays on his part too. But yeah, Malvo picks up a Week 1 victory 2-0 over the Milwaukee Swordsbucks with Cincinnati Loudreds with a +2 differential, moving on to week number 2. So we're going to move on to the second match from Week 1, and the second match we're going to be talking about is the Long Island Reggie Rockies and their coach Nips versus the Real Mareel and their coach Mega Mogwai. Now the Real Mareel starting this season off strong with a nice 4-0 victory over Nips and the Long Island Reggie Rockies. And this match, for me, was a really interesting match, as there wasn't much to break the deadlock early on in the match. There was a lot of predictions. They were very even up until a certain point. But I think the thing that won Miguel the match overall, apart from the actual battle itself and potential crits and things, it was, I think, Nips prepared for the wrong things. And Miguel overall just had some very solid plays with his Wish on his Florges, getting into Hydreigon and putting himself in a position where he could potentially clean up at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at that scoreboard of 4-0, and it's actually really misleading because I think it was 4-4 for the longest time until it was Hydreigon getting a crit Dark Pulse onto the Jirachi that really just opened up the floodgate, and just kind of then from there on went to be 4-0. But you definitely, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that he prepared for potentially the wrong things. You know, we saw the air balloon, magnet rise, magnezone that will go down in infamy.
Yeah,
Um, but you know, he at least he's preparing for something, which
yeah,
is fair. Um, I think the problem with his team right now is that he's going a little bit too much walls and not enough offense. And that's kind of what you saw as the fact that Miguel could be offensive, and you saw him take Mons down, slowly wear them down, and then eventually break through, like we saw at the end through that crit. And you saw Mega Lopunny just end up with 3 kills, which is just insane. It's again, it was a closer battle than the scoreboard says, but there's still some preparation work that I think Nips can shore up for his next battle.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But to be fair, this is Nips's first match in this format, so it's always a learning process. And to have such a close match, even though it was a 4-0, as you said, the match was a lot closer than the scoreline dictated. To have such a close match against someone as as talented as Miguel in this format, that's a pretty good start for Nips.
I agree.
So that is the second match. Real Madrid picking up a 4-0 victory. Moving on to the third match from week number 1, we have the New York Yankees and their coach Shady Penguin against the New Orleans Pelicans and their coach Pokemon. And Pokemon going into this match as one of the favorites for the season. Surprising victory for Shady Penguin and the New York Yankees, picking up a 1-0 victory over the New Orleans Pelicans. Man, this match, it seemed like Pokemon was in control through the first part. I don't know how long it was, but a good portion of the match, it seemed like Pokemon was in control, gonna take this match. And Shady with the clawback, really great comeback on his part. And one of the plays that is a huge highlight for me, because I love moves like this, has got to be Miracote Milotic coming through. Ate up a Thunderbolt from a Raikou, and Miracoted it right in the face and killed it. It was spectacular, and props to Shady for pulling that off.
I'll be honest, I'm actually less surprised that this happened than I think most people are, because of the fact that Shady actually has 3 Mons that match up extremely well against John's team, and that namely is Mega Scizor. It's really strong priority. It just gives almost the entirety of John's team a lot of trouble. And then you have a Zelfin and Honchkrow. Both of those give a lot of John's team trouble, and Shady made the correct play and brought all 3 of them. And you can see from the results, all 3 of them got kills, and it led them to victory. I'm a little less surprised that Shady won that. I'm more surprised that we didn't see a Kyurem Black come to the battle, and I wasn't quite sure what Hariyama was really doing there, or like what he was brought in to potentially counter on Shady's team. That's the one kind of question mark that I had for John, what those were really doing there. But
yeah,
again, when you watch Shady's battle, you can see that he's super animated and he came to win. And that's something that I'd like to see John change in the future, is that oftentimes he seems to play not to lose. Like he had some momentum going on. He just didn't capitalize on it a lot. I don't know if that's nerves or what, but he seemed to be playing not to lose. And I'd like to see him kind of change that up going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it was a great end game from Shady. He conserved what he needed to, and he identified his correct win conditions. He played like he needed to, and put himself in a position where Mega Scizor could pick up the victory at the end. Getting 2 kills, 0 deaths from the Mega Scizor, which is a nice start for him. Yeah, Shady played very well overall. As you said, very animated, but he definitely came to play to win. And that's a big sign. If you have the confidence to say, yeah, I can win this, it generally shows in your play as well. So yeah, that was a very solid match on Shady's part. Picking up a 1-0 victory. New York Yankees starting off Season 4 with a 1-0 victory over the New Orleans Pelicans. Moving on to match number 4. This was a big one, which was the Winnipeg Aquajets versus the San Francisco Giants. 2 new coaches going at it in this match. Hank the Pidgey and the Winnipeg Aquajets picking up a 3-0 victory over the Giants. And this match, oh my lord. The beginning first plays. Okay. If you watched Hank the Pidgey side, you'll know he misgenned his Tornadus Therian. Instead of U-turn, it had Air Cutter. So he was nervous to start with because he misgenned his Tornadus Therian. He leads with his Inferno as Gio and the Giantes led with Moltres. Moltres was an anti-Infernate lead, went for the air slash, but the Infernate was sashed. But then he gets the flinch.
Oh God!
It was my lord! It was insane.
It was an emotional roller coaster to
It
start.
was absolutely emotional, and then after that, he switched out into his Tornadus Theory and realized at that point that he didn't have U-turn, went for a Hurricane, and then missed the Hurricane. It was just hacks all over the place. It was great. It was entertaining to watch. It was extremely stressful for the coaches, I'm sure, but really entertaining to watch. But even after that shaky start from Hank, he managed to pull things back. He played very well indeed. Alamamola picking up a kill against a +2 Gyarados, which is so impressive. HP Electric coming through. That's all I have to say.
I mean, he's pulling a book out of Mega Mogwai's D-League where he ran HP Electric Kanye West. So
exactly. Except it's not Kanye West anymore. It's Yeezy.
Easy.
Greatest nickname.
Yeah. This battle, there on both sides there were things that each coach needed to prove. You had Hank, who kept coming off the 12-0 PBL.
That's the one.
Yeah, he was 12-0. He had to come here to prove that it wasn't just potentially the people that he was playing against, that he's actually just that good at this format. And then you have Gio, who a lot of people, myself included, didn't really rate his draft that really well. He had to come prove that his team is really cohesive. And I think even though he lost, he still proved that. It's still a very good team. It was, like you said, an emotional roller coaster at the beginning of the battle. It was impressive to see Hank kind of regain his composure after all of those things happened and just kind of take control of the battle. There was just one real big misplay from Gio by basically just letting his Mega Swampert die to Amoonguss.
Yeah.
But it was just a really solid battle all throughout that just Hank happened to get the better of. And I look forward to seeing both of these people play on the weeks coming because they both really prove something that they're very good at this format.
Exactly. Even though it was a 3-0 loss for Gio, he definitely proved he knows what he's doing in this format. And he prepared very well. If you look at his team analysis, you can see the amount of effort he put into it. And it was creative, but it wasn't to the point where it stopped being good. It was still very good Pokemon, very good sets, and things that could definitely have worked in the right situation. Just unfortunate couple of misplays, an over-prediction, going for the Rock Slide and Amoonguss, which allowed Amoonguss to take out his Mega Swampert, and a great play from Hank with his Amoonguss, going for the Clear Smog, which nullified the Swords Dance and Speed Boost that he was attempting to Baton Pass into Electivire, which proves my bold prediction so far that Scolipede will never successfully Baton Pass a stat.
I was just about to say that
Yep.
I'd really like to see him use offensive Scolipede more.
Definitely.
More as in like he's had multiple battles to show me that he's not going to use it. But I'd really like him use offensive Scolipede. It's very good, and just trying to frickin' baton pass in this league. It's the same with trying to wish in this league. It's really, really hard to do. Although it sounds good on paper, it's really hard to do.
It is extremely difficult. And there was an unfortunate Mega Horn miss from the Scolipede, which probably would have taken out the Amoonguss, which allowed Amoonguss to take out the Scolipede with another Clear Smog. But, I mean, it was an unfortunate miss, but at the end of the day, Gio did get the hacks at the start, not allowing the Inferno to set up the rocks initially with the flinch on the air slash, and then missing the Hurricane as well. So I think it balanced out at the end of the day, and it was just a very solid match overall from both coaches. A great match of how to play in this format, pretty much, I'd say.
I agree.
But the Winnipeg Aquajets picking up a 3-0 victory over the San Francisco Giants. Moving on to the penultimate match from this week, match number 5. We move on to the Detroit Steel Wings and their coach Crimson Seabad versus the St. Louis Rampardos and their coach Dan, aka A-Drive. Now, this match. I'm sure both of us have a lot to say about this match, but we're going to try and keep this one short. The St. Louis Rampardos pick up a 5-0 victory over the Detroit Steel Wings, and Dan in this one, I feel, was very safe with his plays because that's all he needed to do. He brought the right Pokemon, he brought the right sets, and I think Crimson underprepared and definitely prepared for the wrong things. And it really cost him because he had absolutely nothing to deal with the likes of Chansey. And all Dan had to do was just play around him, make safe plays, wear him down, wear him down, wear him down, and that was about it. He just wore him down to the point where his stuff just kept dying. There were definitely a few misplays on Crimson's part too, but I think Dan played very solid match on Dan's part. Just allowed him to wear down Crimson pretty much.
I agree, especially on the solid play by Dan. He came with a disgusting core. I'm going to call them the double D for disgusting defense. Chansey and Mega Sableye together they're hard to break down. But one thing I was really surprised that Crimson didn't bring, which would help break that down, would be the Gothitelle. He had a Gothitelle that can really trap part of that wall core and potentially get rid of it. Or at least maybe trick it a Choice Scarf, Choice Specs to cripple the Chansey. So I was really surprised to not see that come, which is, again, one of those things that you're talking about where I think he prepared, but maybe not quite for the right stuff. I'd like to see him maybe think of not write any Mons off, because I think we were talking about this a little bit before, that he did his press conference and he was talking about some of the Mons that he didn't think that Dan was going to bring. And you should never prepare like that. Exactly. You should prepare for everything to come.
Especially sorry, carry on.
You go ahead.
Thank you. Especially just one thing you were saying about the press conference he did. There were 4 Mons in particular that he mentioned, which were Mega Sableye, Rotom Wash, Mew, and I think Chansey. It was those 4 Mons he didn't expect him to bring. And if you discount those 4 pokes, you are going to lose. Because Mega Sableye, Chansey, and Mew, like those 3 alone, is just, if you don't prepare for them, they're gonna screw you over. If you don't have anything to deal with a Chansey, it won't die. If you don't have anything, obviously it's very hard to prepare for Mew because it is the definition of versatility. But if you don't have anything in place to potentially deal with it, whether it be a knockoff user or something like that, or like a Frisk user to see what item it has and you can deal with it some other way. If you don't prepare for those 3 Mons in particular, I feel you're in a very, very bad spot. And I don't want to be too harsh to Crimson because, again, it is his first match in this format, and it's a learning process. But I feel like he tried to be a little bit too creative with his sets to the point where it actually hindered the actual performance of the Pokemon. And stuff like Salak Berry, Skarmory, Citrus Berry, Clefable, which can potentially work, I guess, but it just didn't really fit with what he wanted to do. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up because I was going to coin this term called safely innovative. And unfortunately, he kind of fell out of, I'm talking about Crimson right now, he kind of fell a little bit out of the safely innovative realm, which is actually where I was going to give a compliment to Dan in his use of Mew, because Definitely. Mew, like you were talking about, can be almost overwhelming, the amount of options that it can do. As a person who's using it, that can actually kind of scare you off of really being overly creative with Mew, because there's just so many options that, what if this one works better than the other one? However, I'm really, really happy with the way that Dan used Mew. I think Choice Scarf is fantastic because it allows you to be safely innovative. You can use a momentum move, you can tack on something like Defog, or in this case Trick, which came really in handy for him. Or, then you have a stab psychic move, and then whatever coverage move you need for your opponent's team week to week. I'm really happy to see him use it like that, and I hope that he continues to use it in safely innovative ways in the future.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was just about to mention the Trick, definitely a great play in his part. And there was a very nice prediction as well with his Nidoqueen, predicting the Skarmory to switch in as he goes for a Flamethrower. That was a very great prediction on his part too. So some solid plays on Dan's part. And a learning process for Crimson. I feel like a few of his plays were a little bit rushed. He didn't really think things through that much. But as I said, this is a learning process, so hopefully Crimson can improve in the future.
I'll give Crimson this. He probably seemed the most calm, cool, and collected out of the entire battles that I watched. He was when I watched his video, had what seemed like he had everything together, or took everything in stride. So that might help him down the line of being able to kind of take those, keep his calm, cool, and collected, and make good decisions afterwards. So that's always something good to build on.
That is a very, very good point. So yeah, that is a 5-0 victory for the St. Louis Ramponos over the Detroit Steelwings. And the last match we're going to be talking about from Week 1 is the Utah Jasmine and their coach Cooper versus the Pittsburgh Pirate Stars and their coach Tup. Now, the Utah Jasmine pick up a 6-0 victory over the Pittsburgh Pirate Stars in Week 1. And this match, again, I feel like inexperience played a big part in this, as Tup, again, prepared for the wrong Pokemon, pretty much. His team really didn't have much to deal with Cooper's team. He was on the back foot from the first turn, just through the fact that he didn't have ways to deal with the pokes that he saw against him. He made a couple of misplays, one being he switched in a Mareel on a Vaporeon going for a Scald, and he got burned.
That's unfortunate.
Which was unfortunate, but at the same time, that was, I feel, unnecessarily risky on his part. But that, as I said, this is, again, I'm going to be saying this a lot, it's a learning process. And again, I feel like a lot of the coaches, a lot of the new coaches in Week 1 have discounted Pokemon and thought they weren't going to be bringing them, and then prepped for other things, but then they didn't bring them. And there were definitely a few Pokemon that Tup could have brought that really would have helped him, such as Mamoswine. That really would have helped him out in this match, but unfortunately he didn't. He prepped for the wrong things again. But I mean, Tup, I think, played well with the pokes that he brought. He had some solid plays and had some good ideas throughout. There were some unfortunate power hacks against him and things like that. But at the end of the day, Cooper played a much better game and had a much better team.
Well, it's really unfortunate for Tup, because honestly, I think out of the 6 battles, I think he had the toughest matchup, because I think that Cooper is just extremely good. There is nobody in this league. You could combine people in this league and they still wouldn't match the just acute knowledge of the HP stat that Cooper has. He knows exactly how much HP each Pokemon has and how much they will have when they switch in and take damage. He knows it, and that's really difficult to play against, because you heard, if you watch Cooper's video, you heard him say Tup doesn't have very many mons that have instant recovery, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wear him down, and then I'm going to kill him. And that's exactly what he came out and did. And you can see it from the storyline that Vaporeon and Blissey spread some status around, and then Lucario just kind of came in and finished everything up. And that's nothing really against Tup, other than I really wish he would have brought Mamo, because it matched up pretty well. But it was just a really difficult matchup to play Cooper as your first ever GBA battle. And that's all I can really say about that, to be honest.
Exactly, yeah. And again, I think this is a match where the score doesn't really reflect that much. As in, it was a very one-sided match, but it wasn't to the point where Tup was an awful player, he made really bad plays and all that stuff. It was just, he prepared for the wrong things. He tried to make it work with what he had, but he just didn't have the right things to make the match, I feel. But anyway.
I will say this. It is a little asterisk against this, is that Tup actually kind of lost 4v6, because I don't think Whimsicott and Charizard X ever made it to the field.
You are correct with that one, yes. Yeah, they didn't. He didn't need them.
Sorry, I needed to kick dirt at Tup for a little bit. He told people to make fun of him, so there you go.
Apparently we're supposed to destroy him. I don't feel that is necessary, but hey, we'll have a little dig here and there. Anyway, that is the last match from Week 1, and that is the Utah Jasmine picking up a 6-0 victory over the Pittsburgh Pirate Stars. Now, those are the 6 matches. Now we're going to move on to the
league leaders.
The league leaders, that was it, yeah. The league leaders, sorry, yeah. The league leaders. So these are the Pokemon that have got the most kills, the highest differentials, I guess, in the league so far. And hopefully you'll see it on the screen right now. you can see up at the top we have Lucario and Mega Lopunny in the 1 and 2 spot. Lucario getting, as we said, in the top versus Cooper match. Lucario cleaning up with extreme speed at the end, and Mega Lopunny putting in work, getting kills with a variety of things, returns and high jump kicks, I believe, in Miguel's match. You can take the next few.
Well, I was just going to add a little note to that. They both did basically a similar role. It was at the end game, they came in and just kind of destroyed the 3 Pokemon that were remaining, and it was game over from there. But we have actually tied from 3 to 9, all with a +2 differential. We have Chansey, which is really surprising to see up there. It's number 3 on the league leaders, followed by another super surprising Pokemon in Forretress. Again, kind of went back to the fact that Steve really didn't prepare. It was actually kind of similar to what happened to Crimson, where you discount somebody to not bring a Pokemon, and it comes back to bite you in the ass. Then we see Latias, Mega Sableye, Mega Scizor, Vaporeon, Weevil. All of those, kind of expected those to get some kills. Vaporeon maybe not so much, but all of them are pretty offensive mons that can do some damage. And I'll let you take the last one.
Well, the last one is, it's technically tied with a few other mons, but because the alphabet is a thing, Amoonguss takes the 10th spot, which again is another one you don't really expect to see in the league leaders race. But also tied, not making the top 10, are Goodra, Mega Gardevoir, Milotic, and Sylveon, which again I think is much more expected from those mons. But yeah,
especially Mega Gardevoir.
Yeah, definitely Mega Gardevoir should definitely be up there, and Sylveon too, because that thing is ridiculously powerful. But anyway,
disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, so Amoonguss rounding off the top 10. That is the league leaders, and we will keep you updated every week to let you guys know how that is developing based on the matches. So, next thing we're going to look at is the conference breakdown. Now, this is how the results from the week have influenced the divisions and the conferences. So, we are going to look at the Diamond division first in the Hoenn Conference, and we can see it was a somewhat disappointing week for the Diamond division,
to say the least.
I guess. The Utah Jasmine obviously picking up their 1-0 victory with a 6-0, which is the best you can do. But then after that, you have the New Orleans Pelipers 0-1 with the -1, and the Detroit Steelwings with 0-1 and a -5.
Right.
So Cooper taking an early lead here, and John and Crimson are really going to have to play catch-up to try and catch him.
Yeah, there's not really, since it is only week 1, there's not really too much that you can say about it other than it's going to be a very uphill battle for them to catch Cooper. Like I said, he knows his HP stat, and if he needs to time stall the remainder of the battle so that he doesn't lose, he'll do that. So good luck. Good luck trying to catch him. That's all I'm saying. Exactly. Also, shout out to the fact that the Hoenn Conference has Diamond and Pearl, and the Sinnoh has Ruby Sapphire. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yep. Anyways, Pearl Division.
Moving on to the Pearl Division, also in the Hoenn Conference, which I've only just noticed now that you said that, is a little bit more successful in this one, which is the St. Louis Rampados are up at the top with their 1-0 and with their 5-0 victory. And then in second place, we have the New York Mankeys with their 1-0 victory with a +1 differential. And then rounding off third place, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates with their 0-1 and the -6. So Dan off to a very, very good start with the +5 differential, separating himself from Shady Penguin and the New York Yankees by a 4 differential difference. So very strong start from both teams there. But as you said, this is really week 1, not too much to talk about, but it's going to be a very, very big uphill battle for Tup to try and catch these guys.
Yeah, and the interesting thing for all of these is when they get into interconference battles, you have much larger swings in the differential wise within your division, because if Shady beats Dan by 2, he'll get +2 and Dan will get -2, so you can have a much bigger shift when that happens. But I don't think we're getting into interconference play yet. We'll talk about that, I guess, in a little bit. But let's move down to the Sinnoh Conference in the Ruby division, if you'd like.
I can't get over that now. Sinnoh and Ruby and Sapphire. God damn it. Okay, moving on to the Ruby division. We have in first place in the Ruby division. We have the Winnipeg Aquajets with their victory and a +3 differential, followed by the Cincinnati Loudreds with their +2 differential, rounded out with the Long Island Reggie Rockies with their -4 differential. So again, very similar. Two teams starting off very strong with Winnipeg Aquajets and the Cincinnati Loudreds, and again, uphill battle for the Long Island Reggie Rockies to try and come back from this.
Probably the closest conference or division, closest division, and the conference as a whole is probably the closest.
Yep, I do agree. And you guys will see as we now move on to the Sapphire division. We can see in first place we have the Mareel with their +4 differential, 1-0. Then we have the Milwaukee Sourcebucks with their 0-1 and a -2, followed by the San Francisco Giants in third place with 0-1 with a -3. So although there's quite a large difference between third place and first place in that division, it's still relatively close, I'd say, compared to some others. But definitely the Sinnoh Conference with Ruby and I can't get over that. The Sinnoh Conference with Ruby and Sapphire, definitely the closer conference right now, I'd say.
I'm sure that is a typo and will be corrected by week 2.
However, I would hope so.
Interesting note, we tweeted this out, and I'm sure a lot of you have actually noticed that this is the first week in the GBA history that we had a 1-0, a 2-0, a 3-0, a 4-0, a 5-0, a 6-0.
Yep, that was really cool. Actually, I'm so happy that happened. And as you guys can see, even though they had the wide range of scorelines, didn't necessarily reflect what actually happened in those matches, which is really cool. I think that was. It's cool to see. I'm pretty happy that actually happened. But anyway, that's enough of that. So that's the conference breakdown. We are now going to look at the matchups in week 2. So what you guys can expect from week 2 in season 4 of the GBA. So the first match that's coming up in week 2 is going to be the Milwaukee Sourcebucks versus the Winnipeg Aquajets. So the Aquajets coming off their 3-0 victory, and the Sourcebucks coming off their 2-0 loss. Can Steve turn it around? We'll have to see. Can Hank continue his momentum? Moving on to the next match. I'll let you take this one.
I'm trying to find them on this list, and I'm failing miserably. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Loudreds versus the Long Island Reggie Rockies. That'll be another interesting battle as we have the 2-0 or +2 differential, 1-0 Cincinnati Loudreds versus the -4 Long Island Reggie Rockies. I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup because of Weevil and Mega Altaria. Those will be two probably keys to victory for both of those teams to keep them alive.
Definitely, I agree with that 100%. And again, 2 new coaches going at it, so that's going to be very interesting to see. This next match, I feel like, is one of the most anticipated matches of the season, and that is going to be the San Francisco Giants versus the Real Mareel Gym Leader Gio against Mega Mogwai. And 2 very different starts to the season, with the Giants 0-1 with -3, the Real Mareel with the 1-0 +4. But this is going to be a bit of a rematch from the GBA D-League tourney where Miguel came out on top against Gio. Will he replicate that? Or will Gio have learned his lesson and take the victory away from Miguel this time? You'll have to wait and see, I guess. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how... I guess you could say this is the battle of the weather, considering they both have the possibility, Gio for rain and Miguel for sand. But whether either of them bring it, who knows?
Whether either of them bring it.
Weather. Ha! Puns.
Puns are the best.
Puns are the greatest thing in the world. Anyway, moving on to the fourth match.
We will go with what will be probably a very tough matchup for the Detroit Steel Wings versus the Utah Jasmine. I guess I didn't notice until now that this is actually a lot of interconference battles.
Yes,
that's going to be a tough one. Hopefully that Crimson can come to plan, not write off anything this time, and take down the giant, the destroyer that is the Utah Jasmine.
Yeah, and going to be a very interesting match to see if Crimson can learn from his mistakes in week 1 and see if Cooper can continue his momentum. Now, the penultimate match we're going to look at from week number 2 is the Pittsburgh Piratas and Old Man Top versus the New Orleans Pelipers and John, aka Pokemon. Now, both of these teams lost in week 1, but in quite different fashions. The Pittsburgh Piratas losing 6-0 and the New Orleans Pelipers losing 1-0. So, whether Pokemon can turn this around, make it into a win, whether Top can turn this around, change his 6-0 loss into a big win maybe this week, it will be really interesting to see which of these teams gets their first win of the season.
Did we talk about that one guy named Shady and who he plays?
That one guy named Shady? I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Yeah, it has a small channel, and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm literally drawing a blank. Did we talk about?
No, we didn't.
Shady versus Dan? Okay.
We didn't.
You said penultimate, and I thought that meant that it was the last thing.
Penultimate is the one before last.
Second to last thing.
Yeah.
English is not my first language. So the ultimate would be Shady versus Dan. That's going to be a very interesting battle since they're both 1-0. And Dan is leading the conference. So this scenario that I was throwing out a little bit earlier about the fact that you can have some big shift changes in or in your division by playing the people in your division. This is going to be one of those things. Whoever wins this really will be leading their own division. Can we see Shady continue with that win over basically the favorite to win it all, the New Orleans Pelipers, and they continue on to beat the person who's leading their division? We'll see.
Exactly, and again, the inverse of this one, if Dan picks up a big victory here, he is going to be steaming ahead at the number 1 spot in his division. There's going to be not a lot that the others can do to catch him after that. So a big victory on Dan's part here is going to really set him up well for the rest of the season.
Agreed.
So that is what you can expect from week number 2. I think that's all we have to say. I believe that is all we have to say for this week. So thank you for listening to us, I guess, talk for a while about stuff that happened. I hope you enjoyed this different style of recap. I know it's not Gio and Tony, but hey, we're not Gio and Tony, so, whatever. But thank you very much for watching or listening, I guess. And I hope you guys are looking forward to week 2, because I know I am. Some great matches gonna go down. And stay tuned tomorrow. We are gonna have the top 5 plays of the week from Correct for the Win. Stay tuned on Friday. We've got the power rankings with Tom and Danza. And then Saturday, hopefully, we'll have around the Rhyhorn. And then we're back on Sunday when we're in week number 2. So stay tuned for all those videos. Thank you very much for watching. I have been RhyQuinn, and he's been Adam, and you've been awesome. Hey, I like that outro. I'm gonna use that. I've been RhyQuinn, he's been Adam, and you've been awesome. Bye-bye.